It was the kind of cold that steals your breath and crystallizes it in the air before you. The kind of cold that feels personal, like it's hunting you. My truck, a once reliable beast, was now just a silent, frozen tomb on the side of a forgotten mountain road. The blizzard had come out of nowhere, swallowing the world in a swirling vortex of white. No cell service, no passing cars. Just me, the screaming wind, and the creeping, insidious dread that was starting to feel a lot like frostbite on my soul. My first mistake was panicking. I revved the engine until it coughed its last breath. I laid on the horn until the battery died, its final sad moan lost to the gale. I was a city boy, convinced that noise and brute force could solve any problem. Out here, the mountain just laughed. As dusk began to bleed purple and gray into the whiteout, a new, much colder realization set in. If I stayed in this metal box, I would become a permanent, frozen part of it. Help wasn't coming. I had to save myself. That's when the real story begins. This isn't just about how I almost froze to death. This is about how I didn't. It's a horror story, for sure, but it's also a survival guide, written in the ink of chattering teeth and desperate hope. Because when everything goes wrong, your brain is the only gear you have left that isn't frozen solid. The first rule of not dying in the cold is to stop making things worse. My initial panic had been a huge energy drain. Now I had to think. STOP. Stop. Think, observe, plan. It's a classic for a reason. I stopped my frantic, useless movements. I forced my shivering mind to think logically. My body was losing heat fast. A truck, while dead, was still a form of shelter. Leaving it was a last resort. So, how could I make this coffin a survivable cocoon? I observed my surroundings inside the cab. I had a half-eaten bag of chips, a single bottle of water, a cheap emergency blanket I'd gotten as a gift, my gym bag, and a small toolkit. Not much, but it was everything. My plan started to form, one fragile thought at a time. First, insulation. The cold was seeping through the glass and metal. I took the floor mats and wedged them against the windows. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. I pulled everything out of my gym bag, a spare hoodie, shorts, socks, and started layering. Every layer traps air, and trapped air is insulation. The cotton hoodie wasn't ideal. Cotton is terrible when wet. But right now, I was dry, and it was better than nothing. Next, I addressed the myth of alcohol. It's a common trope. Take a swig of whiskey to warm up. Don't. Alcohol makes you feel warm because it dilates your blood vessels, rushing warm blood to your skin. But that just means you're losing core body heat faster. It's a trap. It's your body tricking you into freezing to death more comfortably. My water bottle was partially frozen, but I chipped away at the ice. Hydration is key. Your body needs water to function, including generating heat. Eating the chips gave me a small calorie boost, fuel for my internal furnace. As the night deepened, the temperature plummeted. The wind howled like a pack of wolves, and my own mind started to play tricks on me. I saw headlights in the distance that were just reflections in my own eyes. I heard voices that were just the groaning of metal. This is a critical stage. Hypothermia doesn't just attack your body. It attacks your mind. It brings confusion, apathy. The desire to just rest for a minute becomes overwhelming. It's the sweet, deadly siren song of the cold. I knew I had to stay awake. I did mental exercises. I named every president in order. I tried to remember the lyrics to every song I knew. I pinched myself hard. Pain was a good anchor to reality. I used that cheap, crinkly emergency blanket. It's not a cozy quilt. It's a non-porous sheet that reflects your body heat back at you. I wrapped it tight, feeling the pathetic but crucial return of my own warmth. But the most important thing I did was manage my fear. Fear is a cold thing too. It paralyzes you. It makes you give up. I had to turn the horror story I was in into an adventure. A challenge. I started narrating my actions to myself, like I was the hero of my own movie. Okay, hero, time to check the insulation. Good job. Now, let's do 10 mental jumping jacks. It sounds ridiculous, but it kept me engaged. It kept the despair at bay. Despair is the final stage of freezing, the one that happens right before your heart stops. At one point, I thought about making a break for it, trying to walk. But in a blizzard, with no visibility and no idea where the nearest shelter was, that's a death sentence. You can get disoriented in seconds and wander in circles until you collapse. Unless you can see a definite shelter, and you are sure you can make it, staying with your vehicle is almost always the right call. It's a large, visible object for rescuers. A man walking is a needle in a haystack. A truck is just a smaller haystack. The night felt like an eternity. Every creak of the truck, every gust of wind, was a monster in the dark. My shivering became uncontrollable. Then it started to subside. This is a terrifying sign. It can mean your body is giving up, running out of energy to even try and warm itself. I knew I was on the edge. I used every last ounce of willpower to move. I flexed my toes, my fingers. I tensed my muscles. Anything to generate a spark of internal heat. And then a different light, not a phantom. A pale gray dawn, filtering through the snow-caked windows. The blizzard was breaking. The world was still, silent, and blanketed in a thick, pristine layer of white. I had made it. I had survived the night. I felt a wave of relief so powerful, it almost knocked me out. A few hours later, I heard the rumble, the deep, grinding sound of a snowplow. I used the last of my energy to bang on the roof of the truck with a wrench from my toolkit. The sound was dull, but it was enough. The plow stopped. A face peered through the window, a mixture of shock and concern. I had never been so happy to see a stranger in my life. Looking back, the horror wasn't the storm or the cold. The horror was the voice in my head that whispered, "It's easier to just close your eyes." The horror was the tempting warmth of giving up. Surviving wasn't about being a tough guy. It was about being smart. It was about respecting the cold, not fighting it. It was about understanding that your body is a machine that needs fuel, insulation, and a clear-thinking operator. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, remember this. Stay with your vehicle. Insulate. Stay dry. Hydrate and eat if you can. And most importantly, keep your mind active. Fight the urge to sleep. Turn your fear into focus. Don't become another horror story statistic. Become the person who tells the story of how they survived. It's a much better story to tell. Thanks for listening, and stay safe out there.